Welcome to the debate. Today, we are diving into what is, I think, the most disruptive development in higher education since the internet: the rapid, almost universal integration of generative artificial intelligence. The data is just so clear from the studies by Mazaharian and Norbach and Viriu and Petraeus. Student adoption is already at nearly 92%. It's here and it's pervasive.
And that unprecedented speed of integration, driven almost entirely by students, has opened up this chasm between the technology's adoption and any real institutional guidance. So we have to confront the core tension this creates. Does the widespread use of generative AI fundamentally enhance academic performance through, sheer efficiency and personalized support, or does this student-led movement, this shadow pedagogy, primarily undermine foundational academic integrity and really essential critical thinking skills?
Right. And I'll be arguing that we must see AI as a powerful accelerator. It enables unprecedented learning efficiency, and it drives genuinely personalized academic development. The student body has frankly found a better tool for the modern academic workflow, and I think the benefits far outweigh these transitional risks.
And I will argue that this unguided adoption has created a dangerous vacuum. A vacuum where severe ethical and cognitive risks are accelerating at a pace that, quite frankly, fundamentally overwhelms our current institutional preparedness to manage them responsibly. We are, in effect, sacrificing foundational skills for a very superficial kind of speed.
I think I come at this from a different angle. We have to prioritize the student's immediate observed benefits. The research, particularly the analysis by Freeman, demonstrates that adoption is not about laziness. It's driven by extremely powerful, pragmatic motivators. When 51% of students state they use AI specifically to save time, and another 50% aim to improve the quality of their academic output, we're looking at a kind of strategic optimization. They're using AI to manage the incredible volume of work in a modern university. And crucially, this positive self-perception is confirmed empirically. The Viriu and Petraeus study found 83.5% of students feel AI improves their learning efficiency, and over 82% believe it enhances their performance on major assignments and exams. This is where the concept of personalized learning becomes truly transformative. AI can offer intelligent tutoring systems that adapt content, provide infinite practice, and deliver instant feedback tailored to an individual student's pace. Traditional models just can't scale to do that. Student adoption is forcing the university structure to adapt, and it's demanding that we embrace this new era of performance augmentation.
That is a compelling argument, I'll grant you, based on self-reported efficiency. But I would frame the situation very differently. The sheer scale of the adoption, 92%, juxtaposed against the critical lack of structure, that's the real issue. Only 36% of students, according to Mazaharian and Norbach, report receiving any formal institutional training or guidance. This guidance vacuum is precisely what creates the dangerous environment they label a shadow pedagogy. It means that institutions are not leading the learning process. Instead, these complex ethical and pedagogical decisions are left to individuals who are, inherently motivated by getting things done faster. And the immediate consequence of this ethical gap is alarming. 18% of students admitted to integrating AI-constructed material directly into their submitted assignments. That is a clear, statistically significant compromise of academic integrity.
Okay, but
And what's more, even as students chase this speed, they themselves articulate a deep anxiety about the trade-offs. We see 16.5% worry about the negative impact on their critical thinking skills, and they fear an unhealthy overdependence on technology. So the efficiency you champion, while real in the short term, is often just a Trojan horse for cognitive disengagement. And the widespread lack of institutional preparedness means we are passively watching the degradation of the very skills education is supposed to cultivate. So let's delve into this concept of the shadow pedagogy and those pragmatic motivators that supposedly justify it. My central concern is that framing AI use purely around time saving encourages students to see significant parts of their required learning, especially preparatory tasks, as disposable busy work, just something to be outsourced. This psychological shift is deeply, deeply problematic. allows students to rationalize behavior that I think they might otherwise acknowledge is ethically ambiguous. This shadow pedagogy, this unguided student-led curriculum, it means the ethical boundaries are fuzzy, and students are essentially setting their own standards, often in direct contradiction to the goals of their program.
I acknowledge the risks, of course, when students define their own limits. But I believe you're mischaracterizing the nature of the labor that's being outsourced. The data shows that a primary use is, well, using AI to generate summaries or initial drafts of research. When 64% of students use AI for text generation, they are not necessarily committing fraud. They are seeking performance augmentation for tasks that are, let's be honest, highly repetitive.
But are they just repetitive or are they foundational?
Well, I would argue that outsourcing this initial rote labor like the basic summarization of 5 dense articles actually frees up their cognitive bandwidth. This allows them to allocate their time to higher-order human synthesis. It means focusing on interdisciplinary application, framing complex research questions, or developing nuanced ethical case studies. Tasks that AI really cannot yet manage. The shadow pedagogy isn't a student failure. It is a structural lag in the formal curriculum. The solution isn't prohibition. It's adopting models like the Ethical AI Integration Framework, which mandates structured AI literacy programs and requires an immediate redesign of our assessments. We need to teach students how to critically refine and prompt AI output, not just banish the tool they have already universally embraced. And to continue on that cognitive impact, let's focus on the potential for AI as intellectual scaffolding. This is where AI functions as a truly individualized, always-on tutor. The Vieriu and Petraeus study reported 51 instances of a positive impact on learning, specifically noting that material became faster to process, better structured, and, significantly more accessible. For a student struggling with complex introductory material, say the foundational principles of statistics or quantum mechanics, AI can provide endless, tailored explanations until comprehension is finally achieved. This is the core promise of true personalized learning: instant diagnosis of weak areas and adaptive explanations that close knowledge gaps. It allows the instructor to focus classroom time on debate and complex analysis, not just remediation. This functional shift fosters genuine growth.
I'm just not convinced by that line of reasoning because the short-term perception of speed and better structure often obscures a profound long-term hazard to foundational skills. We are substituting intellectual struggle, which is necessary for consolidating knowledge, with algorithmic convenience. The Vieriu and Petraeus research confirms this concern internally. 16.5% of students themselves worry about diminishing their critical thinking skills. They intuitively grasp the cost of this cognitive shortcut. And furthermore, an alarming 48.2% express concern over the fundamental accuracy of information from AI models. So if a student uses AI to solve a problem and then has to spend time manually verifying the output, they're transformed from an active problem solver into a passive reviewer. This over-reliance leads to skill atrophy. It challenges the essential human element of education, as scholars like Holmes and others have warned for years. I feel I have to press this issue of the ethical gap, which is illustrated so vividly in the Mazaharian and Norbach data. We have a fundamental ethical mismatch here. Only 20% of students say that copying AI output into an assignment is acceptable, yet 18% confess to having done it. This minuscule 2% gap between belief and action, it demonstrates a systemic failure in defining academic integrity standards for generative AI. Conventional models of plagiarism are they're insufficient because the AI creates original material. It's not simply copying from an existing source. The ethical problem is ontological. If the student doesn't struggle with the material, is the final product truly their own work? This confusion, coupled with the continued absence of clear institutional policies, encourages a permissive culture that constantly tests these ethical limits.
Okay, I do concede that the 18% figure presents a significant policy challenge. But we must be careful not to extrapolate pervasive ill intent from what is really a lack of clarity. We should focus on the positive inverse. Over 80% of students still perceive full content generation as unacceptable. The gap stems from a lack of definitional precision, not a universal moral failure. We know students are already engaging with AI productively. 39% use it to enhance the style and grammar of their writing, and 40% use it purely for ideation and brainstorming. This is appropriate assistance.
But where is that line drawn?
Well, our path forward has to involve comprehensive, institutional policies that draw a clear, bright line. A line that differentiates acceptable aid, grammar checking, structural ideation from actual misconduct, which is full content generation presented as one's own intellectual effort. This requires intensive AI literacy programs, perhaps modeled after the UNESCO framework, which focus on ethical judgment and transparent integration. It's about teaching students how to cite AI use, not simply banning it. The findings on gender disparities also offer a critical avenue for curriculum development. The Freeman data shows that female students consistently express greater caution. We see 53% worried about academic misconduct and 51% worried about misinformation, compared to just 35% and 30% of male students, respectively. Now, I would frame this caution not as inhibition, but as a strength, a more highly developed ethical sense and risk awareness. If we view the female student cohort as possessing a stronger ethical compass, we can and should leverage that perspective. By positioning them at the forefront of policy development, we can ensure that the frameworks we create are founded on robust ethical considerations that ultimately benefit all students.
That's a compelling argument for leveraging ethical foresight, but I believe it fundamentally overlooks the risk of widening the existing gender-digital gap. While caution is valuable, the data shows this caution translates directly into a usage disparity. Female students are demonstrably less likely to use AI for skill building. That's 22% usage compared to 36% for males. And for experimentation, Rousseau and their colleagues point out that this increased AI anxiety and lower favorable attitude could directly inhibit their ability to develop critical AI competencies. These are skills that will be essential for success in future careers. So if we don't actively address this disparity in the perceived barriers, we risk creating unequal access to high-demand skills, and that undermines our commitment to equitable educational outcomes. The goal isn't just to acknowledge the caution, it's to create an environment where all students feel confident and prepared to engage with these tools.
So to summarize my position, the potential of generative AI for efficiency, for structural support, and for highly personalized learning represents a transformative leap forward for higher education. The challenge is structural. We must proactively convert the existing bottom-up shadow pedagogy into structured, guided, and ethical learning environments. We do that through comprehensive literacy programs and redesign curricula that accept this technology as the new reality. We have to empower, not prohibit.
And my cautionary view remains rooted in the immediate, observable threats to academic integrity and critical thinking. The data strongly suggests that institutional preparedness lags far, far behind the rate of student adoption. With only 14% of faculty reporting confidence in using AI, we are currently failing to lead this transition. Our focus has to be on mitigating systemic risks and defining a clear ethical path, ensuring that we don't sacrifice foundational intellectual rigor just for the sake of perceived efficiency.
Both sets of these studies, I think, clearly illuminate the valuable and necessary tension between technological innovation and the ethical pedagogical responsibilities that we as educators now face in this new landscape.
Indeed. What's undeniable is the urgent need for universities to move beyond mere reaction and to define a proactive, human-centered approach to AI integration immediately. We have to ensure this powerful technology is deployed ethically and critically, equitably, while we all work to define what academic integrity truly means in the age of AI.